Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel, Bow and Arrow Tarot. This is going to be the mid-June love check-in for the sign of Pisces. Alright, I'm starting off with Pisces because of one of my favorite subscribers who's always leaving me comments and keeping up with the videos and telling me how they're resonating with her. And I love interacting with her online, and I told her that I would upload Pisces first, which is what I'm doing. Alright guys, so hope you guys doing well. You check out the the weekly reading is up for you guys, June 10th to 17th. The new moon reading is up for you guys, and I'll be doing the full moon reading on the 17th as well. But this is the mid-month check-in. Now, all of these readings may not resonate with you. Some of them may, some of them may not. Okay, they may have themes that run throughout, or sometimes they're different. So this doesn't necessarily resonate with you even if one of the other ones did. Okay, and it can also be that the June month love reading for you guys may have resonated and this one may not. Okay, or vice versa. So let's get right into it. We're going to pull your two cards. Romance angel cards for this mid-month love check-in. Show us what's going on with Pisces this mid-June. It's all rainy where I'm at. I love a rainy day sometimes. They're so cozy. Okay, show me what's going on with Pisces mid-June in the love department. Show me. Alright, Pisces. Calling in your soulmate, and you have love yourself first. Interesting. Bottom of the deck is codependency, right? Addictions are affecting your romantic life. So again, like the weekly readings are just that, weekly check-ins. Sometimes they're about love or love relationships. Sometimes they're not, but they are focused on relationships in general, because we have relationships in our career and in all areas of our life, right? So the weekly readings are basically about whatever relationship is taking center stage for that week, romantic or not. This is the mid-month love check-in. So this is specifically about your love life. And it's the middle of June check-in. Like I said, the beginning of June is out. So for you guys, Pisces, you're calling in your soulmate and love yourself first. So this is specifically about your love relationships, right? Interesting. Your prayers and affirmations, visualizations help bring you two together. And your self-respect makes you more romantically attractive. So, interesting. Let's see what that's going to be all about. We're going to pull your cards out and see what is going on for the mid-month check-in. Pisces, mid-June. What's going on for mid-June? You check in with them. Show me. Alright, show me. Pisces, I've already been meditating quite a bit before I started filming, so I'm just going to do a little shuffle for you. Get you guys ready. Some cards are turning over. Interesting. Show me. Show me what's going on for our lovely Pisces mid-June. Give me a clear reading. Alright, show me what's happening for them this mid-June in their relationship, love relationships, romantic relationships. Show me. Alright. Alright, let's get your cards. Four of Swords, Queen of Swords, Hierophant, Four of Wands, Eight of Pentacles, Hermit. Interesting. 10 of Cups, 2 of Swords, and 5 of Swords. Bottom of the deck, you have the Magician coming in to manifest All right. So it's all about you, right? This mid-June, it's all about you. At the center, you're the one in control. You're the one who's manifesting. All right. Interesting. So let's get right into it. Coming out of a period of waiting, a staying period, right? Period of waiting, a period of, strategizing, pondering, This isn't just any old period of waiting. It's a 4. 4 talks about stability. So right now it's kind of taking pause to maintain stability. This card can come up when things are kind of going out of order. Things are kind of getting a little chaotic, perhaps, in your love life. And this is a card that talks about, not making any decisions, pausing, not running headlong into anything. Because right now it feels as though stability is being threatened. The stability in your relationship is being threatened, right? Or, you know what I mean? Not threatened so much, but unraveling. And so you feel as though right now the best thing is to just kind of be still, right? And see what's going on. You know what I'm saying? Feel what's going on, right? Things are coming at you. You feel like, okay, so now you're getting information as well coming in, all right? And it's you're like having to certainly discern, right? You're having to discern. You're having to decide between what you're hearing, what's correct, what isn't correct. You're taking, right now you're feeling very much like you're taking stock, right? So for instance, I almost feel as though like where before perhaps some of you Pisces may have been very kind of lovey-dovey and romantic and very kind of accommodating. Right now it's all of a sudden like you're like a totally different person. Now you're the Queen of Swords and you're like, you know what? I'm not going to be like that right now. Right now I need to be discerning. I need to be tough. I need to have answers. I need to be patient. I'm not going to run in headlong. I'm not going to be as passionate as I've been or as emotional. I think people are seeing a completely different side of you, a much more austere side, a much more severe side. Hierophant is in, and you're feeling like, hang on a second, and I think this is one of the reasons perhaps things have been starting to happen in your love life that has questioned a level of commitment that is, you're starting to question that's being questioned. But not only that, it's almost as if like, your belief system, what you always held true about what a good relationship should be or what the type of relationship you want should be. The Hierophant represents our belief systems. It represents our spiritual beliefs, but it also represents the beliefs that we have about ourselves and our lives and what type of life we want to have as far as morality is concerned, as far as what is right is concerned. And that also reflects in our relationships. And it's been questioned. I feel like your relationship has taken a turn where it's almost as if it's making you question, does this relationship even fit into my set of ideals anymore? Right? Because I have a certain set of ideals that I adhere to, and I'm wondering now, this relationship is starting to spiral out of control a little bit in that way. Things are starting to happen that aren't what you wanted, what you expected, or what fits into your acceptable limits, right? And it's starting to destabilize, and you're putting the brakes on, but a lot of it involves communication, and having communication come in that you're starting to piece apart and decide what is true, what isn't true, what's important, what isn't important. You're starting to sift through a lot of stuff, right? You've got 4 of Wands here, so it's certainly like working towards, it's a long-term relationship, right? It's a long-term relationship. 4 of Wands talks about stability again in relationships. You have 4 here and 4 here. So 2 4s, you also have 2 5s in the reading. So 4s is stability and 5s is power struggle. So it's as if you're having, your stability, the stability in your relationship is being either undermined or destabilized by power struggles that are happening. All right, and some of them are causing you to reevaluate what this relationship means in terms of you and how it fits into what you believe is acceptable, what you think, you know, a relationship should be, or what you should accept, right? Um, it's a long-term relationship here as well. It's like this is underneath of the Four of Swords, so it's like I said, it's destabilizing to a certain degree. You don't necessarily want it to destabilize, right? I mean, Four of Wands talks about when you come together with someone and you agree to be equals. So the reason why people call Four of Wands the soulmate card is because you know, it's like 11-11, yeah, 11-11, that's soulmate. But it's deeper, you know, it's not about the 11, it's 11. It's about the relationship, okay? If you see the wands standing there, they're equal to each other in positioning, right, and in height. The two characters are equal in height almost, right? They're different characters, but there's there's an equality there. It talks about the type of stability that you need to have in a relationship for it to be an enduring relationship, for it to last a long time. Hence, a soulmate type of relationship, right? Which would last for quite some time, which can last over lifetimes, right? As a lot of people believe. But that is more about the stabilizing factor there. The agreement that you both have to see each other as equals. Even though one of you may be a dove, the other a ram, seemingly unequal, you accept each other. You accept each other's negatives and positives to such an equal degree that you always endure. There's never a power struggle there. It's built on absolute, complete stability, right? In respect and loyalty. And that is what makes this the soul flame card, because that is what's needed for twin flame soulmate. That's what's needed for a relationship to endure, to be happy, okay? But when that's not there, right? When you begin to not see each other as equals anymore, that is the destabilizing factor, right? When the power struggles come in. Somebody's been working very hard lately as well. There's been a lot of working. There's been a lot of head down working, just crafting away. Eight of Pentacles, right? So eights talk about limitations, right? Talks about limitations, talks about boundaries that you set for yourself, limitations that you set for yourself, conquering limitations. The 8 in the major arcana is the strength card, right? Which talks about us, conquering our deeper, more animal sides of ourselves, that lion in us, right? Which has to do with emotions like pride, jealousy, avarice, you know what I mean? Those type of animalistic based emotions, and knowing those, where those emotions lie within us, knowing our own strengths, our weaknesses. That's what it's all about, and that's what eights are all about. Sometimes eights in Pentacles, right, refers to the need for limitation in work, the need for structure in work. Sometimes restrictions can be positive. That whole kind of like, oh, I need to be up at 8 to get to work by 9. That's a restriction. That is a restriction that you've set on yourself. It's a positive one. Restrictions aren't always bad. That's a positive restriction because you understand that you need that kind of, setup, I guess, right? To be focused, to get to work, to do your work, to be focused on your work, to hammer it out, to have a certain amount of quality every single time, right? To reproduce the same level of quality in work. A lot of that requires being disciplined, right? Being disciplined is a form of restriction, but it's called being disciplined because, yes, it's hard, but it's necessary. So right now, that's what's needed right now. It seems like right at the center of a lot of things is a lot of work. Either you or your partner could be kind of, throwing your head down in work, but there's also a hermit energy here, right? So 9 talking about relationship to the self. So you're very much like thinking about yourself. It's almost as though perhaps for the first time you may be thinking of yourself with not in relation to your partner. Okay, so when you're in a relationship, whether it's good or bad, a lot of times we think of ourselves in relation to that person. It's when you start to have daydreams of your life without that person. You ever in a relationship with somebody and you suddenly start daydreaming about a life and that life doesn't include them. You know what I mean? You're daydreaming about suddenly like having your own apartment and a job somewhere else. It's almost as if it's like the daydreams you had when you were a teenager. Know I did, even younger than that. Daydreaming about moving out and being on my own, right? It's almost like being a kid again and moving out and being on your own. You can get those kind of daydreams when you've been in a relationship with somebody for a very long time and you're no longer happy, you're no longer satisfied, you feel kind of restricted. You start to naturally daydream almost about getting out of that situation like you leave home. I think the Hermit card here talks about this. Certainly coming up in a love reading like this is love yourself first. You're starting to think about yourself in situations that where you find yourself being happier than you're in now. And your situation now is with somebody. You're with somebody. Could be a form of codependency going on, right? Certainly it's somebody you've been with for a very long time and you were very, very happy with this person. Right? And this is quite interesting because this is not so much to say that this is so much about bickering. There isn't very many cards about bickering. Even though the fives are here in terms of power struggle, there aren't a lot of negative wand cards or negative sword cards. Apart, you have the five of swords down here, which we'll get to. But it isn't the case that you're not that you're actually bickering or arguing. It's just you're finding yourself kind of just like lifting, like separating, almost floating away from the relationship. It's been a long time of a certain kind of like vibe happening, and now you just find yourself kind of waiting, thinking, reevaluating, in a way that you never have done before. you know. Ten of Cups is down here, so you want your happily ever after, right? It's not a case of you being sick of being in a relationship. It could be that perhaps right now this relationship is either giving you this or not giving you this, but you want this, right? You do want this. You want a completion. The other thing as well is that tens talk about completion, and this could very much be the completion of what was a very happy relationship, right? But it's come to its natural end. All right, it's come to its natural end, and you're deciding now how to move forward. You've gone inside, and you're just not the same person anymore you were. Calling in your soulmate and loving yourself first, and codependency. It's interesting because it's almost as if it's like one of those. We have multiple soulmates. And because we have multiple soulmates, naturally relationships with them end because you have more than one and you go on to another relationship. And this is almost kind of like here what I'm seeing is that it's almost like a scenario where you love your mate, right? You love your mate very much. And you've been very happy with them, but you don't see a future with them. You don't see your future with them anymore. And you're trying now. Two of Swords talks about a decision. Sometimes people say it's a decision, but it's more like a balancing. Twos actually talk about balance. Talks about how do you balance extremes. Talks about unity, right? Coming together, the union two. It's the union of two, which is naturally a balancing act. It's not a choice. Right? Two of Cups is the lovers coming together. So it's not a choice. And if you look there, you see this two swords, they're equal. She's blindfolded. If anything, she's going inside and trying to discern how can she have her cake and eat it too? How can she balance these two extremes? How can she balance these two swords? How can she keep them both? Right? And I think that's what you're trying to do right now. You're like you have one foot in one world and another foot in another world, and you're trying to keep them both. It's causing, and that's what's causing the bickering. All right? And that's, I believe, why the issue is coming up. Because it's not about you and your person not loving each other anymore, or cheating necessarily on each other or anything. It's about you. You've made a personal growth, Pisces, and you're realizing now that you're being given a choice almost between your new self and what your new self wants, right? And your old self and what your old self already has. And you want to have both of them, but you know in your heart of hearts you can't, because trying to juggle them both is causing friction and tension in your relationship. And you're being almost forced to choose between the two. Let's get some clarity here. I hope you understand what I'm getting at here. This is the perfect scenario that if you handle it right, you either remain together. This is one of those scenarios where either your partner agrees to go on this ride with you, right? And to allow you to get into this new kind of chapter in your life. And they're like, okay, you know what? You rode with me for so long. Now I'm going to ride with you. Either they're willing to do that, or if they're not willing to do that, then part ways, and part ways the best way you can, and be happy and be friends. It's very much down to whether or not your Bonnie or your Clyde is willing to be a Bonnie and Clyde. I've seen relationships like this in this kind of scenario either endure or not endure over the years. I've seen relationships where one partner has really been allowed to live their life and kind of live their dreams. And when the other partner has suddenly changed or had some kind of epiphany and wants to lead a different life, they were willing to sacrifice what they've done so far to support their partner, to now be like, I don't want to say the sidekick, but to now be the supporting force in their partner's life. And those relationships are the ones that were filled with a lot of adventure and that lasted a long time. And it was like, wow, so-and-so and so-and-so are still together? Yeah, they're still together. Where are they at now? Oh, man, this time they followed her this way, and she went and did that. Or, yeah, this time they decided to follow him or her. Or, you know what I mean? You hear all these adventures about them kind of supporting each other through it. Or there's relationships where, yeah, you know, she decided to do this with her life, and he didn't want to support her. He didn't want to go along with it. He couldn't. Or vice versa, male, female, doesn't matter. But you know what I'm saying? And unfortunately, then, you know, the best way to handle that is, you know, you talk about it, and it's your choice, but it's like you're not going to be happy. The bickering is going to keep happening. Because once you have this change, this is why the relationships go either or. Because once you have this change, you can't go back. You can't unchange. You can't unknow it or unthink it. And you're only going to be miserable if you don't follow your new kind of vision or path, right? So either your partner supports you or they let you go, you know. Or the third thing is that you don't go anywhere. You stay and you're miserable. And the relationship turns very, very toxic. All right? Give me some clarity on this. On this reading for our lovely Pisces, please. Give me some clarity. I don't want flippers. I want clarity. Please give me a clear reading. And clarify some of these cards. This is a very specific mid-month message. Show me. Show me. I wanted to get a clean cut. Yeah, and that's what we got. Let's see what's going on with this. Yeah, very interesting. That's why it's love yourself first, you know. And codependency. There's a codependent factor here, certainly. All right, let's see here. Queen of Discs, the universe. See, that's why. Ruin, Ten of Swords, because it hasn't been working out. Six of Swords, Science, Two of Wands, Princess of Wands. There's your new life. Princess of Wands, that's why. Ten of Cups coming out on the Ten of Cups. The Sun coming out on a decision, Two of Swords, and the Wheel of Fortune. Wow. All right. So this is, I'm going to show you exactly how this clarifies. Four of Swords, truce. Yeah, of course it's about a truce. What did I just say? It's certainly about a truce. You can decide to end this amicably, or you both can go on this new adventure together. But let me show you. Queen of Discs. That's why you're waiting. You've worked hard. That's why you're not jumping into anything. You're not being emotional. You're not, you are, and maybe this is a new way of behaving for you in this particular relationship, but it's almost like a calm has settled over you. And the reason why is because of the Queen of Discs energy. Queen of Discs, look at that barren wasteland she's looking back on. That's where she's come from. So she represents, the Queen of Discs worked for her garden. She's the one who got it. She didn't marry into it. She didn't get given it, there was no status. She wasn't born with status. She came from the barren wastelands, and through blood, sweat, and tears, she built up her luxury around her. And you don't want to lose that. You don't want to lose that stability that you worked for. And you feel like perhaps you're losing it right now. Okay? And that's why you're being cautious and you're being careful. And I think that's the best thing for you to do. You're being very wise. Because she does look back. She looks back always to remind herself where she came from and never to go back. Okay? So it's okay to look back, and it's okay to take your time and say, hang on a second. I worked very hard for where I'm at. Nobody gave me what I earned. I earned this. You're not going to take it away from me. Right? And that's an issue here. That's becoming an issue somehow in this relationship. Because Four of Swords talks about coming back from a battle. This character, ideally, this is a ritual, by the way. This talks about a ritual, where back in the day, several hundred years ago, warriors would go out and fight, crusaders, etc., etc. They go out and fight, and when they did not die and they were able to come home in sort of one piece, they would go into the crypt, whatever family crypt they have for themselves, and they would lay on their grave and pay thanks to their ancestors and their angels and their their spiritual guides. And really, they would lay and in a sort of prayer and in a form of thankfulness for having their lives, thankfulness for maintaining their life, their stability, right? So, this is why I say this when it comes up in a relationship reading, because it does certainly talk about having that feeling of having battled and being thankful for being where you are today, and realizing that stability, that four, is something that you earned. And although you're thankful for it, you earned it, and so you're always going to be careful to maintain it. All right? That's where studying mysticism and theology, numerology, and understanding some of your history, it goes into the tarot. It's not good enough to just know the tarot without studying the various philosophies in this world to get a deeper understanding of where these archetypal messages come from. Then you can really get an understanding of the energies behind this. And that's what it is here. You certainly feel like you've worked very, very hard for what you have. This is not just a wait. This is not just a pause. This is a pause because you don't want to lose what you've worked for. The universe is here to clarify the Queen of Swords. The universe talks about seeing the bigger picture. You're starting to see the bigger picture. You're starting to see the bigger picture and how you fit in it, and you're realizing that you need to work for it and discern better. Queen of Swords is all about discernment. She's the one who judges. She's the one who decides, hang on a second, right? She beckons you to come, and she will decide if what you bring is something she can use, that's good for her, that's good for her people. You know what I mean? She's not the queen who just lets anybody come on in, and she comes out certainly for instances where perhaps you may have been a little bit too accommodating for some time, and now you're not that person anymore. You're not willing to be accommodating. You're not willing to make excuses for anyone. You will make no excuses for anyone. They have to come completely correct, because now with the universe coming here, you see that there's a broader picture for you. There's a bigger path for you. There's a bigger picture. There's more to come. And up until now, you've been really thinking about the small segments in your life, when now it's almost like you're looking at the whole timeline. Yes, here we go with the ruin, right? So again, yeah, Ten of Swords talks about the end of a very long, difficult path. This is a completion time for you. Again, Ten of Swords. You have Ten of Cups down here, and 10 tens talk about completing one cycle and starting another one. You know in your heart of hearts that this is the end of a cycle, right? And part of this cycle, Ten of Swords, it does say it's ruin here, but ruin relates to the old you. You're at the end of a very long period that has seen ups and downs, has seen a lot of battles, right? And you are no longer the same person. You are ruined in a way, right? But not for good, right? You're somebody better. You could become somebody new. But the old you is ruined. You can't be that person anymore. And certainly when this comes up in relation to a love reading, it's like going past the point of no return. There's just been too much water under the bridge. You simply just can't go back to who you were in a relationship anymore. And I think you're going to be, again, this change, this ending, this closing is you're going back to your roots in terms of your strength. You're going back to your own spiritual system, your own belief systems. Could be that for quite some time you may have been in a relationship that had gotten you away from that. You know, sometimes we're in relationships and it takes us away from who we really are. Say, for instance, you're generally like somebody who really gets into, example, you really get into like crystals and Mother Nature and all of that kind of stuff, and you really want to study it and you want to live your life according to that. But you're in a relationship with somebody who really doesn't kind of respect that, or get into it, and then over the years you lose touch with it, right? Now you're going back. You realize you're at the end of a difficult period. It's a difficult time. It's now closing. There's a new time coming. And part of this whole change and this kind of death of the old, you're kind of relying, you're like, oh, okay, let me go back to what I used to. Let me pull my crystals back out and go back to meditating on what I used to do. The things that used to keep me strong, the things that I always turn to, those things that you always turn to in times of need, when you feel as though you've lost yourself, or you may be becoming somebody, you don't know who you're becoming. You always go back to your old belief systems. They feel like a warm blanket, right? They feel like comfortable and safe. And that's what you're calling in right now. Okay? As well as, realizing that a lot of what you've gone through is kind of like, your belief systems and who you are is telling you this is not something that you should be putting up with anymore. This time is now over. All right? Six of Swords here, science. It's called a science card, right? But Six of Swords over this Four of Wands, it's really, talking about harmony, right? Sixes is all about a journey towards harmony, a departure perhaps, the journey, knowing you have to make the journey itself. It's been a journey. It's been a long journey. And I believe that, like I said, you've been very happy as well. You've been very happy, but Six of Swords talks about moving along, right? It's that, the Six of Swords, it's that boat. When in the traditional deck, you see the boat with the swords and the person there kind of moving to the next shore. It's like you've gotten everything you can out of it, right? You've gotten everything you can. It's almost you've turned it into a science, right? You've gotten everything you can, but now it's time to move forward. Now it's time to take everything that you've learned and towards a common good and move to the next step, to the next elevated step. It's all pointing to the cross and the lotus flower in the center of the cross, talking about elevating yourself, right? And like I say, I feel very much like this Four of Wands is a soulmate. It's a soulmate energy. There's a choice here, right, for you both to go on this journey or not, right? Because this is definitely, you know, whoever you're with is somebody who's very, very important to you. And I think this is kind of like the conundrum right now, this mid-month. I think that's why you're calling in, but you need to love yourself first. And there is a level of codependency here. All right? But a journey has to be made. This Six of Swords is happening, right? With or without you, it's happening. The journey will be made. And when I say a journey, I don't mean necessarily a physical, but I'm saying the moving on to the next stage of your life. It's going to happen with or without your soulmate. And if it's stable enough, it is, you know, the stability, the potential stability is there to withstand this journey. Yeah, at the center right now, you know, like I said, it's like the discipline, you know, displaying the discipline that you need to keep going, to keep working. Two of Wands talks about seeing your next vision, working hard towards your vision, right? Two of Wands is like after that inspiration, you have to move forward. This is Mars in Aries. There is no stopping. It is called Dominion for a reason. You cannot stop. You simply cannot stop. Your desire to move forward with your inspiration and kind of this new, renewed sense of yourself in your life is unstoppable. It could be one of the reasons why right now you are kind of throwing yourself into your work. Could be your partner is also throwing themselves into their work because they're feeling it as well. I kind of feel like it's both of you, really. Like, poof. Like, you know, because there's this energy here, this kind of forward momentum energy, and it's all up in the air if you're going to go together. Here is this, yeah, and this is what I'm talking about. These are the daydreams. Hermit energy, remember, going inside spiritually, right? Doing some soul searching, some shadow work. But this is what I meant earlier about that shadow work. It's causing you to exhibit Princess of Wands. Princess of Wands, look at her, she's dancing. This is what I mean about daydreaming about a new life, daydreaming about being free, about being able to express yourself. You know, how many of us get into relationships and over the years you just find yourself unable to, you're just not the same young, vivacious person that you were before, and you just want that back so badly. And, you know, after this soul-searching hermit moment, you realize, fuck, this is who I am. This is what I want to be. And this is what I'm talking about. You're on the beginning of a whole new journey. And your relationship will either be able to come with you or not. Hopefully you guys can make a truce. Ten of Cups is coming out on Ten of Cups. Yeah, this is the end of a very long kind of, it's been a happy time, but it's time to close. It's the ending of one happy time and the beginning of another. And again, like I say, there is potential here. There is potential. But it's certainly, what's evident and what's for sure is the ending. There's certainly the ending of one cycle and the beginning of a very new happy cycle. Sun card coming out, yeah, again. There's 1 foot in, 1 foot out. It's like the dawning of a new day. I know you want to juggle the two lives, but ultimately the new day is going to pull you through. The sun is there. You know, the new you, all of this, look at all of this fiery energy you have here. The sun, Two of Wands, Princess of Wands. You feel so passionate and fiery. It's just going to win out. It's going to win out, and you're going to get pulled in the direction where you feel the happiest, with or without. And if you have to go on your own, you will. Interestingly enough, 19. Sun is 19. Nines are the cards of solitude. First 9 is the Hermit. It's the card of solitude. It's the card of relationship to yourself. And interestingly enough, I say you will go to where you're happiest, whether you're alone or not, because sometimes being in the sun necessitates being alone. Not everyone can follow you into the sun. And that is the deeper, that's a deeper kind of meaning as well to the 19, the sun card in the major arcana, is realizing that even when you have your happiest moments and you are in fact in the sun, on the stage, in the spotlight, living your best life, sometimes it has to be done alone. You have to go towards that place alone. And there can be it can be loneliness, but being lonely is different than being alone. You don't have to be lonely, but you certainly sometimes have to get there by yourself. And so that's interesting that is, that comes up as a clarifier on this juggling of these two lives now, where you're kind of like, what do I do? One foot in, one foot out. How can I have them both? Trust me when I tell you, you will go towards what makes you happiest. And if you must do it alone, you will. And here you go. Wheel of Fortune clarifies that Five of Swords. Anything can happen. Like I say, the potential is there. The potential is there. The opportunity is there. But this bickering has to stop. The bickering has to stop. The opposition has to stop. The arguing has to stop. All right? But there is potential. Right now, there's opportunities flowing for you right now, Pisces, that you have to take. And if like I said, if you have to take them alone, take them alone. There is potential for you to work for your partner to come with you on this journey, but you have to have a truce. The truce has to be there. Your partner has to be willing to make the truce and face up to the fact that now it's time for them to support you. Now, they may or may not be able to do this, but you are the magician right now. You are the one manifesting. Look at that. King of Swords is underneath. Will your person come with you? I don't know. There are Three of Wands stepping out and moving forward. Will they come with you on that? I don't know, because right now you're Queen of Swords, and you're also a magician. You're manifesting. But in your discernment, you're Queen of Swords. Will they step up and be King of Swords and realize that they can come with you on this adventure? If they're willing to take the back seat, I don't know. All right, guys, this is it. This is Pisces. I promise I will bring this out first. I'm sorry it's so long, 41 minutes, but I want to give you guys thorough readings, in-depth readings. I want to give you a little bit more, and I also like to teach you a little bit about the tarot and the meanings behind the tarot, the numerology of it all, the deeper connections to the Kabbalah and the Tree of Life, which is really what the tarot amplifies and embellishes more, well, embodies, I would say, the theories of which the tarot embodies much more than anything else. So I like to share that with you so you guys can understand why I come to the conclusions I come to. It's the experience, it's the study. I continue to this day. I've been reading tarot cards for 25 years, and to this day I continue to study the Kabbalah. I continue to study the Tree of Life. I continue to study the meanings, all right? Because tarot is a discipline and a craft that you learn for the rest of your life. So I hope this was a good reading for you guys. If it resonated with you, please like, subscribe, share. You know what to do. Otherwise, wow, what a time for you, Pisces. You're starting something whole new. A whole new life is starting out for you. So I wish you all the best. Leave me comments. I love your comments. For now, love you, Pisces. Bye-bye.